What's up, everyone? It's Crypto Nomad, and today we're diving deep into IREN Limited, one of the most talked about stocks this year, trading at $61.68 as of October 7th, 2025. This company has had an absolutely explosive run up from just $5 in April. That's over 1,100% gains in roughly 6 months. The stock recently broke through its previous all-time high of $52.19 set on October the 3rd and continues pushing higher. But here's what's interesting. Most people don't actually understand what this company does or why it's performing so well. Today I'm going to walk you through IRN in a way that makes sense. Even if you've never heard of them before, we're going to cover what they actually do, why their business model is unique, their financial performance, and what makes them different from competitors. By the end, you'll have a solid understanding of IREN Limited as a company. Let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. IREN Limited, which changed its name from Iris Energy in November 2024, is an Australian-based company that operates in two main businesses: Bitcoin mining and AI cloud computing. But what makes them special isn't just what they do, it's how they do it. IREN mines Bitcoin, which means they use powerful computers to solve complex mathematical problems that secure the Bitcoin network. When they successfully solve these problems, they earn Bitcoin as a reward. Think of it like digital gold mining, except instead of digging in the ground, they're using computing power. Now here's the critical part. Bitcoin mining uses enormous amounts of electricity. We're talking about running thousands of high-powered computers 24/7. For most mining companies, electricity costs are their biggest expense and can make or break profitability. If you're paying high electricity rates and Bitcoin's price drops, you lose money fast. This is where IREN's strategy is brilliant. They specifically built their mining facilities in locations with access to cheap, renewable energy. They have operations in British Columbia, Canada, where they use hydroelectric power from dams and rivers. They also operate in Texas, where they tap into wind and solar energy. IREN claims they run on 100% renewable energy, which gives them two huge advantages: lower costs and better public perception in an industry often criticized for environmental impact. Currently, their Bitcoin mining operations are generating approximately $1 billion in annual revenue. To put that in perspective, in January 2025 alone, they mined 1,521 Bitcoins with a 75% hardware profit margin. That's a really healthy margin that shows their low-cost energy strategy is working. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. About a year ago, IREN realized something important. The data centers they built for Bitcoin mining could also be used for something else that's exploding in demand right now: artificial intelligence computing. Let me explain why this works. A data center for Bitcoin mining has massive electrical infrastructure, cooling systems, physical security, and internet connectivity. The only real difference between mining Bitcoin and running AI computations is the type of computer chip you use. Bitcoin mining uses ASIC chips, while AI uses GPUs, graphics processing units, particularly from NVIDIA. So IREN started buying NVIDIA GPUs. They now have 10,900 of them installed, and they're renting out this computing power to companies that need it for AI applications. Think about companies training large language models like ChatGPT, running machine learning algorithms, or processing massive data sets. These companies are desperate for GPU capacity right now because there's a global shortage. This is what IREN calls their AI cloud business. Right now, it's small, generating about $10 to $12 million per year, but management is aggressively scaling it. They're targeting $200 to $250 million in annual revenue by December 2025 and potentially $500 million by Q1 2026. If they hit those targets, this would go from being 2% of their business to potentially 30 to 40% within 2 years. What makes IREN's model unique is this flexibility. When Bitcoin prices are high and mining is very profitable, they can dedicate more of their power capacity to mining. When AI demand is hot and companies are paying premium rates for GPU access, they can shift capacity there, and here's the kicker: they can do both simultaneously, balancing their revenue between two different industries. Think of it like owning a building that can be either a restaurant or an event venue, depending on what's more profitable that month. Most companies are locked into one business, but IREN can optimize based on market conditions. Let's talk about what makes IREN different from competitors and why those differences matter. IREN's biggest moat is their access to cheap renewable energy. They didn't just randomly pick locations, they strategically chose sites with three criteria: low electricity costs, access to renewable power sources, and favorable regulatory environments. Their Texas facility in Childress County is located near major wind and solar farms. Texas has a deregulated electricity market and massive renewable capacity being built out. Their Canadian sites benefit from abundant hydroelectric power, where electricity costs are among the lowest in North America. Plus, Canada's cooler climate naturally helps with cooling costs, which is a significant expense when running thousands of computers. Why does this matter? Because securing this kind of power capacity takes years. You can't just show up and plug in 2.9 gigawatts of power demand. IREN has spent years negotiating power purchase agreements, building substations, getting permits, and establishing relationships with utilities. A competitor wanting to replicate this would need 3 to 5 years minimum. In May 2024, IREN announced they're a preferred partner with NVIDIA. In the current market where everyone wants NVIDIA GPUs and supply is constrained, being a preferred partner means you get priority access. While most companies are waiting 6 to 12 months for GPU orders, IREN can secure them faster. This partnership also gives IREN credibility in the AI space. When potential customers are deciding who to rent GPU capacity from, knowing that NVIDIA views you as a preferred partner signals quality and reliability. IREN owns and operates their entire infrastructure stack. They own the land, the buildings, the power infrastructure, the cooling systems, and the computing hardware. This vertical integration means they control their costs and don't depend on third-party data center providers or power markets. Most Bitcoin miners and AI computing companies rent space in someone else's data center and buy power from the grid at market rates. IREN's model gives them more control and typically lower costs. Let's look at IREN's recent financial performance to understand how the business is actually doing. For fiscal year 2025, IREN generated approximately $500 million in total revenue. The vast majority came from Bitcoin mining at around $184 million reported, with the full-year estimate closer to $480 to $490 million when you account for all quarters. AI Cloud contributed roughly $10 to $12 million for the full year, which is small but growing rapidly. The important thing to understand is the trajectory. If you go back to 2022 to 2023, IREN was doing maybe $100 to $150 million in revenue. They've roughly tripled revenue in 2 years, and now they're projecting that AI Cloud alone could add another $500 million annually by early 2026. That would nearly double total revenue again. Here's a big deal. 2025 is the first year IREN became profitable. They generated $87 million in net income. For years, this company was burning cash to build infrastructure, and now they've crossed into profitability. Their gross margin is 31%, meaning after paying for electricity and direct costs, they keep 31 cents of every dollar. That's strong for this industry. Their net margin is 17.4%, which shows that even after all expenses, employees, interest on debt, depreciation, they're keeping about 17 cents of profit per dollar of revenue. IREN has about $500 million in cash on their balance sheet, which gives them flexibility to invest in growth. They also have just under $1 billion in debt. That might sound concerning. But for a capital-intensive infrastructure business, having debt to finance expansion is normal. The key is whether they can service that debt, and with $87 million in profit and likely $150+ million in EBITDA, they're currently in good shape. One thing to watch, share count has increased significantly. They went from 82 million shares in mid-2024 to 223 million shares today. That's 172% dilution. Companies issue new shares to raise cash for expansion, which IREN is doing aggressively. The trade-off is existing shareholders own a smaller piece of the pie. But if the pie grows fast enough, you still come out ahead. So far, the stock is up 1,100%, so shareholders have won, but continued dilution is something to monitor. Analysts are projecting IREN's earnings per share to grow from 39 cents in 2025 to $1.34 by 2028. That represents about 51% annual growth, which is extremely aggressive. For context, the average company grows earnings maybe 7 to 10% per year. Achieving 51% growth requires several things to go right. Bitcoin needs to maintain elevated prices. The AI cloud business needs to hit its $500 million revenue target. They need to successfully deploy thousands more GPUs, and competition can't erode their margins. It's possible, but it's definitely not guaranteed. Let's talk about why this stock has surged from $5 to over $61 and what's driving this incredible investor enthusiasm. IREN is at the intersection of two massive trends, the Bitcoin bull market and the AI computing boom. Bitcoin has rallied significantly over the past year, making mining more profitable. Simultaneously, demand for AI computing has exploded with companies racing to train AI models. IREN benefits from both trends, which is why we've seen the stock go from $5 to over $61 in just 6 months. That's a 1,100% gain. Right now, there's a genuine shortage of AI computing capacity. Major tech companies, AI startups, and research institutions need GPU clusters to train models, but capacity is limited. Co-CEO Dan Roberts said in interviews that we can't meet demand fast enough. When demand exceeds supply, companies can charge premium prices and expand rapidly. Investors are betting that IREN can capture a meaningful share of this AI infrastructure market before competitors catch up. If the AI cloud business reaches even half of management's targets, it would justify significantly higher valuations. The market loves transformation stories. IREN isn't just a Bitcoin miner anymore, they're positioning as an AI infrastructure company that also mines Bitcoin. This narrative shift has attracted new investors who might not touch pure crypto mining stocks but are interested in AI plays. The stock has probably benefited from this expanded investor base. Let's be honest. Part of the rally from $5 to over $61 is momentum and speculation. When a stock starts moving up aggressively, it attracts traders and momentum investors who push it higher. IREN has become a meme stock in some circles, particularly among crypto enthusiasts who see it as a leveraged bet on both Bitcoin and AI. This speculative element can drive prices beyond what fundamentals alone would support. The fact that the stock just broke through its October 3rd high of $52 and is now trading at $61.68 shows this momentum is still very much in play. IREN isn't alone in this space. Other Bitcoin miners like Marathon Digital, Riot Platforms, and CleanSpark are all exploring similar AI pivots. Additionally, traditional data center companies and cloud providers are massively expanding GPU capacity. Over the next 2 to 3 years, the competitive landscape will intensify. The question is whether IREN's early mover advantage and cheap energy moat are enough to maintain premium pricing and margins as more capacity comes online. This is the biggest uncertainty facing the company. Every company has risks, and IREN has several worth understanding. 95% of current revenue still comes from Bitcoin mining. If Bitcoin crashes like it did in 2022, revenue takes a major hit, even if the AI story is intact. Growing AI cloud from $10 million to $500 million in 18 months is extremely ambitious. Delays in GPU procurement, construction setbacks, or customer acquisition challenges could derail projections. With $1 billion in debt and aggressive expansion plans, IREN needs things to go well financially. If revenue disappoints, that debt becomes more concerning. Both crypto mining and data centers face regulatory scrutiny around energy usage and environmental impact. Policy changes could impact operations, so let's bring this all together. IREN Limited is a company that started as a Bitcoin miner, but is now transforming into a dual business model, combining crypto mining with AI cloud computing. Their competitive advantage is access to cheap renewable energy in strategic locations, vertical integration of their infrastructure, and a partnership with NVIDIA for GPU access. Financially, they've reached profitability for the first time and are projecting massive revenue growth if their AI cloud expansion succeeds. The stock has rallied 600% because investors are betting on this transformation and the company's ability to capitalize on the AI infrastructure shortage. The company is executing on an ambitious plan, but significant risks remain around competition, execution, Bitcoin volatility, and whether they can actually scale AI revenue as projected. The stock's valuation is pricing in a lot of success, which means there's not much room for error. Whether you're bullish or bearish on IREN, understanding the company itself, what they do, how they make money, their advantages and their challenges, is essential for making informed decisions. I hope this deep dive gave you a clear picture of IREN Limited as a company. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know what you think about their business model and strategy. Make sure you like and subscribe to Crypto Nomad for more company deep dives like this. Remember, this is educational content, not investment advice. Always do your own research. As always, happy learning, and I'll see you in the next one.